In the documentary of your life, Alice, Beauty in Truth, you state up front at the beginning of the film that in your life people really had a problem with your disinterest in submission. From a young woman, people had a problem with your choice of lovers. Mm-hmm. People just, you name it, they had a problem with it. Mm-hmm. What, as a Buddhist, I believe, or someone influenced by Buddhism, mm-hmm. what's the correct response when people have a problem with who you are at the core, do you think?
I don't see much of them. Yeah, I came to this planet through my parents, but I came with work to do, and I've been doing it since I was very small. And it's only in the last 10 years or so that I understand better than I ever have that I had a charge. You know that song, A Charge to Keep I Have? The rest of it is, I don't remember too well, but that charge, that feeling that I had a specific thing to do, and I had to prepare myself to do it and get on with it, no matter what people said, what they thought, including my parents, including my siblings, including my whoever. My nature is one of curiosity. I am very intensely interested in so much. I want to know. I want to know, I want to experience. I don't want hearsay. You know, I don't want somebody saying, oh, well, you don't have to do that because I did it and this is what happened to me. Well, that was you. So this is the nature that I have, and I honor it, I respect it. And those people who would rather have submission from women especially, just need never come to my door because I am not interested in that. What I want to know is everything, everything that is of interest to me, I want to know. And I will try to find out for myself. Because when I leave this planet in this form, it would be nice to be able to say, well, yeah, I know pretty much, all the things I wanted to learn here this time. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful mystery, this life. And why should you submit? Mm-hmm. You will never have the joy if you keep submitting. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And on the note of joy, could I invite you to read a couple of poems from your book?
Yeah, I opened this book to a couple of poems. And one is actually called Our Martyrs, because like you, some of you in this room, my people in the United States have had many martyrs for us, people who loved us so deeply. You may know of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, maybe Nat Turner in the 1800s, or, just so many. And then all over the planet there are martyrs, people who just, stand up for the people, or shot down, lynched, burned, bombed. And I often think about them, and I feel this real warmth for them. And so I wrote this poem called Our Martyrs. When the people have won a victory, whether small or large, do you ever wonder at that moment where the martyrs might be? They who sacrifice themselves to bring to life something unknown, though nonetheless more precious than their blood. I like to think of them hovering over us wherever we have gathered to weep and to rejoice, smiling and laughing, actually slapping each other's palms in glee. Their blood has dried, and become rose petals. What you feel brushing your cheek is not only your tears, but these. Martyrs never regret what they have done, having done it. Amazing too, in memory, they never frown. It is all so mysterious, the way they remain above us, beside us, within us, how they beam a human sunrise, and are so proud. Mm. And this other one, because when all is said and done, we belong to somebody really big. We belong to her. We belong to the mother. And we're walking all over her every minute and rarely thinking about it. This is called We Have a Beautiful Mother. We have a beautiful mother. Her hills are buffaloes, hills. We have a beautiful mother. Her oceans are wombs, her wombs, oceans. We have a beautiful mother. Her teeth, the white stones at the edge of the water. The summer grasses, her plentiful hair. We have a beautiful mother. Her green lap, immense. Her brown embrace, eternal. Her blue body, everything we know.
Wow. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Very much in keeping with that last poem, Her Blue Body, Everything We Know. You've said that your the work you're best known for, The Colour Purple, is a novel about God, about the movement in Seeley's life in particular, from speaking to a God who cannot hear her to understanding that God is something else altogether. Could I ask you to speak to that?
Well, the novel, The Color Purple, is a theological work, and it was intended to be about God and about, whether you feel an affinity with the God that was given to you, or whether you really feel, as I have felt, that I didn't want to submit to the God that someone gave me. I wanted to find my own. So that is Seeley's struggle, to go through all of these trials and tribulations on the way to finding her true connection to God, and it ends up being everything, which of course it is. And I needed this for myself, and I think many people do. It's that if you are brought up in almost any religion, the teaching is so strict that you, even when it doesn't seem to be, it's just there. And you end up feeling like that is what you are. You imbibe it, it's like mother's milk. And as long as that is true, in a sense, you never really know who you are and what you're connected to or what you believe, So for Seeley, and the other interesting thing that I noticed over the years of this novel's life is that what I think happened was that people were so happy to have a relationship between two women, that a relationship that was fulfilling and beautiful, and then also after they have their separation, Seeley goes off as a stronger and more whole person. That some of the themes were put on the back burner, and also the God issue is troubling, for many people. And yet, for me, if we do not grapple with that issue, I mean, what do you believe? You know, do you really believe? Someone was telling me about. I like this teacher, David Icke, and he talks about how the beings that we have thought of as angels were actually reptiles that came here. And to me, what that opens up is just the possibility of a whole other way of understanding who we are and how we got here, you know, and who again is, you know, who is God for us, for the individual person. Mm-hmm. So it's just a challenging way of enlarging our own sense of our connectedness to what is real for us, and instead of taking on something that is somebody else's idea of what is real for us.
And that chimes very closely with our Aboriginal spirituality in Australia, doesn't it, Alexis?
Yeah.
To me, anyway.
I'm not surprised.
Thank you. Okay, now it's your turn. Would someone like to be the first brave person to ask a question? A question from a person concerned with activism to do with Chile, and how do we move forward in a situation where people find it incredibly difficult to forgive or to forget atrocities of the past? Alice?
Well, I am so delighted that you're here to get this person and to bring that person forward before the people so that the people will have an opportunity to feel your effort, you know, to rectify a grievous injury to the people. I feel in my country that we will never start to heal until the criminals who have been running the country are brought to justice. You know, how can we? You know, how can we heal? So I am, you know, it's not about being vindictive. It's not about, you know, wanting to, you know, just punish people because we finally have enough power to do something. Because, you know, we don't yet really. But don't give up, because the people need to know that you know, other people know, and that there is this determination to stand for the people who have been wounded and the people who have been murdered. We cannot let them just rot and nothing is done about it. You know, they were, you know, human beings and possibly incredibly wonderful ones. I feel that, for instance, about Che Guevara, you know. I mean, the people who assassinated him, you know, need to be totally brought to justice. And whoever you are you know, mourning, they need to know, they need to feel, even in their graves or wherever they are, that they didn't die for nothing.
Alexis?
No, I would agree with all of what Alice is saying. In our own local situation in Australia, I think we've got a lot of work to do within ourselves, in our own communities, and in particularly having, you know, working with story. I think stories are really important. That's a very important part of the fabric of who we are and our culture, and going back and looking at those stories and the philosophy behind those stories to getting the story, you know, right now, and in what we do. But on the other hand, like I was saying before, our only way we can have our conversations with Australia in the future is through the courts.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Judy, the question is to Alice regarding the tension between her Africanness and her Americanness, similar to the character Tashi, and has there been a development through Alice's life in how she regards herself in that dual identity?
I feel my three identities, Native American, Cherokee, English. My grandfather's name was William Grant, and he was named after his biological English father, William Grant. There's also, all the other possibilities of European admixture, as they say. And the African, interestingly, in my case, I think my passion has been more African. It has been more, when I went to Africa the first time, I was overwhelmed with love, and just because the people were so beautiful, and I could see how centuries of abuse had just so destroyed so many of them in terms of their health, their teeth, their bones. They had been pushed off of the land so that the white Europeans could plant, their pineapples. So I just feel that's why I've written so much about Africa, I think, because out of that deep feeling, I went there as a student. And then of course, I learned about female genital mutilation, and that was such a blow. And I spent over 10 years trying to deal with that in a way that would make a difference to some child's life, But I actually, on a day-to-day basis, feel extremely one. I mean, I feel many, and I feel one. I love it. I mean, in fact, my partner is Korean and Norwegian, and I don't know anybody else who's Korean and Norwegian. But we often talk about how these mixtures bring out certain qualities that are fabulous. I mean, that they are, it's very different being mixed from being unmixed. I was also once in a relationship with a Chinese man, and he hadn't been anything but Chinese for hundreds of years. And I adored him, but he was very different. I mean, I could feel that this was a different kind of being from so many of us who now are, we say we're this, and how that all works together. And I can only say that I love it. I love it. I love going into that Cherokee part, which is not a part, but is the whole thing, but in a way, in some kind of weird way. Sometimes it feels like I understand something more deeply because of that. Or the English, Scottish, Irish, they're a bunch of crazy people, actually. I mean, the ones in my lineage. I'm not saying the whole, and the African, I mean, it's, and the African has in me so much tenacity, so much groundedness, tenacity. I had an ancestor who lived to be 125, and she was on a boat in Virginia, a slave boat, a slave ship, and she walked from Virginia, I don't know if you know the coast of the United States, but it's hundreds and hundreds of miles. She walked from Virginia all the way to Georgia, middle Georgia, carrying 2 children that weren't hers.
Crikey.
So,
And isn't that a fantastic metaphor?
yeah, isn't that beautiful? So I have no complaints.
Unfortunately, we're almost out of time. The question was about the South African Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and could Alice speak to that?
I am very admiring of it, even as I've been to South Africa now twice, and I have to say they have not changed enough, not by any stretch of the imagination. So that's one problem. But other than that, I think, yes, this is a definite positive step, and it's a very mature understanding of human beings, that people who have perpetrated horrible things need to be accountable. I mean, you may not then string them up, or whatever, but they need to be brought before the people, and they need to be required to say what they have done, how they did it, and why they did it. I mean, I think we are made that way. I think we are made to be people who need to own up to our own destructive behavior. And that is, some people think you should throw people in prison and leave them forever. I don't think so. I think that, there are other ways to work with human beings, and that having them appear like that and working from that is a very good thing. So I do applaud it.
A very respectful young woman asked what the elders would say to her generation in a world where we are 7 billion strong.
You want to go first?
Speaking of the burdens of leadership.
I tried to write about that in this one book. I said this one book in 100 years' time, and because I am concerned about your generation and your children's generation, and my children's generation, same. And well, through most of my adult life, it's been one of fighting for change, and being part of thousands of Aboriginal people across the country who fought for change, and for our rights, and for settlement, and on issues that still to this day are still concerns of ours. And as I say, our only conversations that are real conversations that we're having, and all I can remember, have been through the courts. And so you may have to think about that too, how you take the future, your future, and decide what you want, decide what the vision is, and work for it.
I just want to add something, please. It's about fear. You will be afraid, but don't let it stop you. Fear has this ability of turning us into much less, I was going to say cowards, but much less than we can be, just because we are afraid to lose what we have, we're afraid to lose our lives. And actually, this is one of those places where silence is so good and meditation is so good, because you can begin to understand the eternal nature of being. You will always be something. You may not be you, but you will always probably be something, and that's very comforting. So we are in the most horrible time, I'm sure, humanity has faced in a long time. I mean, some people believe that it's cyclical. The world is destroyed, and then the people climb back up, a few are left, and they do it all over again, and it keeps going like that. That may well be true. But the time now requires so much courage and so much fearlessness. And if you can't have fearlessness, just have fear and keep going. Because we will never change it if we are too afraid to move. And that is what I wish for you. That is what I wish for the coming generations. That you remember that every gain in humanity, every step of ground that we have acquired for our descendants came at a cost that so many people were so afraid, and they went on anyway. So many people didn't know what to do, and they did it anyway, And just trust that, just keep moving. Because if you don't, we've lost the earth. The earth is being lost every minute. And the earth is too precious for us to lose. So good luck.
Alice Walker, Alexis Wright, thank you. Thank you.